All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. I also want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to those who elect hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. All right. So I just want to do a quick lesson, centered around the decline of Babylon the Great, America. All right, which we're sent, the apostles and our elders, all right, to prophesy against, America, man, all right, which is known as Babylon the Great in the Bible, therefore prophesying against this place, there'd be signs of, its downfall, man, Shalaki, just like any other kingdom that ruled, they rose and then they fell. All right, Yahweh Shai gave them power, and you take their power away. So this is what we see going on with America. But I typed in signs of a declining empire, and it says, the AI overview says, signs of a declining empire include political instability. Right, that's what you see going on right now. You got the left wing against the right wing. All right, you got Democrat versus Republican. There is no unity here in Babylon the Great. Okay. It says economic decline, which we see clearly going on right now. All right, inflation is killing people right now. Prices is unbearable. Gas prices is out of reach. The economy is doing horrible. Anybody saying that the economy is doing perfect right now, you're under a delusion. Right? It says military overreach and a widening gap between the wealthy and the poor. You see? Because like the scripture says, let's get it right here. It says Proverbs 22 and verse 7, and it says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Okay? The rich do ruleth over the poor, man. And that's why you got a lot of our people, because we're considered the poor ones, man. Of course, you got literal poor people out here, but we're considered the poor. All right, because we don't got nothing in this world, man. All right, Esau, Edom pretty much rules over us. Okay? Because when you think about it, that goes back to the parable in Luke the 16th chapter where it deals with the rich man Lazarus, right? Of how there's a great a gulf fixed between the both of us, so we can't cross into Esau's blessing, all right, and he's not going to be able to cross into our blessing. Okay, so I was watching this lesson done by the elder Mawat Desai from the LA camp. Okay, and he was pretty much going into the end of our Esau's empire, man. It says Esau, Edom's end, the end of their times might come through them. Pretty much it's an Edomite going through. All right, just pretty much breaking it down for you. All right, how Esau rule. Pretty much going into colonialism. They're not able to do it no more like they once did because they're being exposed, man. All right, as they're exposing is a sign of their end too. All right. So going back to the scripture, or going back to the overview, it says right here, elaboration, political instability, frequent changes in leadership, civil conflicts, and a general loss of faith in the government are common indicators. You see? So, nobody's trusting the government no more. That's why it says in the book of 2nd Ezra, so we can get that. What? They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Okay? The fact that people don't respect their leaders no more, that's a clear decline, in this society. Okay, it says, matter of fact, we could read it right here. 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 14, and it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for their destruction, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Okay? And that shows you how people are divided, like it said in the overview. Okay, political division. Because it's not, and people are not gonna randomly wake up one day and say, I want to kill somebody. Of course, you do got, nut jobs like that in the world. Okay, but I'm talking about, I want to, attack the opposite party or whatever. No, man, it's because that, the Democrats don't agree in what the Republicans believe in, and the Republicans don't believe in what the Democrats believe in, man. All right, as if the Republicans believe that the ways of the Democrats is bringing America down, so they're trying to bring America back up again, according to them, or make America great again. Okay, so it says, "For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." See? So, right here, political instability. They're not gonna regard their kings nor princes, man. Right? Pretty soon, your mayors, your governors, they're gonna start getting attacked by these citizens, man, because citizens are losing trust in the U.S. government. All right, the political system. It says right here, economic decline. This can manifest as inflation. You see, decreased productivity and capital flight as the wealthy seek safer havens for their assets. You see, so AI is pretty much giving you the breakdown right here. All right, Esau Edom pretty much released this thing thinking that he was being slick, but really, AI is working against Esau too. Of course, he's using it for wickedness, but the Lord got his exposure on every end, in every corner. You can't run nowhere. All right, but nonetheless, it says, remember, economic decline again. It says, this can manifest as inflation, decreased productivity. Right, you got inflation going on right now. That's why a lot of people, they're moving from down south, and they're going up north, because prices are unbearable to them here, so they got to go somewhere else. But eventually there's nowhere you can run from the conditions of America, man. Because at the end of the day, all right, this whole system going to collapse to the point where Esau Edom is going to require everyone to take that implant, okay? That chip implant, which is the mark of the beast, okay? It says military overreach, excessive military spending, and involvement in costly wars constrain resources and leave the empire vulnerable to attack. And is that not what's going on right now? All right, a lot of the money, your tax dollars, it's all going into the war, and you can best believe it's going to the war to fund the small hats, man. You see, your hard-earned money is going to those small hats so that they can attack, a foreign nation. Okay, and this is why people are losing trust in the U.S. system, because think of it, those that are awake, right? Those that have sense in their head, they're suffering. Meanwhile, America's spending their money, on war, man. On war that has nothing to do with them. But we understand how the scriptures, prophecy states that the least of the flock shall draw them out. So America is involved in this because it's prophecy, man. All right. Okay, so continuing on, it says wealth inequality, a widening gap between the rich and the poor, with a significant portion of the population impoverished, can lead to social unrest and resentment. You see, and the main population of America is impoverished, man. Even if they're not, walking outside, with the shoe on one foot and the other foot barefoot, or they barely get, a lot of people are barely getting by, Yeah, they got a house and they got a roof over their head, but they got to continue working like slaves to maintain that. Whereas you got the rich, they ain't got to worry about nothing in this economy. Because they done sucked out all the life from the people, so they're rich. Hey, once again, going back to that Proverbs, right? Let's go back to that Proverbs. The rich ruleth over the poor. I don't mean to drag that precept out, but, just came back to mind. Proverbs 22 and verse 7, it says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. See, and the way Esau set this system up, you're a borrower, man. You're a perpetual borrower. Let me say that again. You are a perpetual borrower, pretty much. He'll put these loans out and then charge you interest on these loans. So the original, loan that you got out, it grew, or the payback grew because Esau's interest rates is too much. So that's how he makes you borrow, to him. That's how he enslaves you, financially, man. So now you're in this hamster wheel of living. You see? And this is why, the average Edomite, or you got Jake out there that believe in the system, that one day is just gonna snap and pretty much, go at him. Okay? This shit is wickedness, man. It says it says right here, a loss of confidence, a decline in the empire's prestige and influence, coupled with a loss of faith in its values and institutions, can erode its power and legitimacy. Okay? So, I'd say the only people that still got trust in Esau's system, all right, are the Edomites, MAGA, they trust in, America's system and what Donald Trump is doing, all right, because they love this place, man. You got Jake among them, you got niggas among them, man, talking about making America great again. You see? But hey, let's get the scripture real quick. Because hope in this place is pretty much broken hope, man. Ain't no hope in this place. Okay. Let's see if I can find it. Where it says, thou art also taken. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua said, I have laid a snare for thee. Okay. Listen, I have laid a snare for thee, how thou art also taken. I gotta type it in. And this is in Jeremiah 50 or 50 on one of those. Shalakia. Jeremiah 50 and 24. Shalakia, I passed it, but I didn't really see it. But it says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou wast striven against the Lord. You see, so Babylon is taken, man. There's nothing you can do to heal this place. This place is pretty much grits, as they say, right? Because as we see going on right now, hey, them prices just going to keep skyrocketing. Social unrest is getting ready to happen. Something's getting ready to happen to where it's just going to change the dynamic of, your living situation here in America, man. All right, we're in the spirit. We in the spirit, preparing, man. Because, we understand that the carnal things of this life, is not what's going to deliver us. It's not going to save us. So we're preparing spiritually for Yahweh Bashem Yahushua to bring these judgments, and also to deliver us, Lord willing, would be of the elect, man. Okay. But Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Just want to go through that, the signs of a declining empire and how we see these things in real time going on. And there's no doubt that we are living in the end. The so-called white man, which is the Edomite, all right, he's on his way out. All right, so I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. And I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to all for elect here in this word and truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.